Playoffs, playoffs, and more playoffs. You can never go wrong with the packed NFL playoff weekend. And sometimes they are epic.
Low snap. The kick is good.
And the kick, look out. It's no good.
Every football fan loves an epic playoff game that goes down in NFL lore. But you know what's even better? When we get double, triple, or even quadruple the fun. We're talking multiple epic playoff games all in one weekend. Here's how we'd rank the 10 wildest weekends in NFL playoff history. Number 10, 2019 Wildcard Round. 4 showdowns, 4 games decided by 1 possession. Wildcard Weekend opened with the Buffalo Bills visiting the AFC South champion Houston Texans. Buffalo built up a 16-0 lead in the third quarter, but Houston reeled off 19 consecutive points to take a 19-16 lead late in the game. Buffalo's Steven Hoegler needed a 47-yarder at the end of regulation forced overtime, where the two clubs exchanged punts before Houston iced it with a Kaimi Fairbairn game-winning 28-yarder. Next up, Derrick Henry and the 6th-seeded Tennessee Titans ran over the Patriots and ended Tom Brady's glorious run in New England by stunning the defending champs in Foxborough 20-13. A day later, Kirk Cousins outdueled Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. The Minnesota Vikings stunned the Superdome when Cousins hit Kyle Rudolph for the game-winning touchdown in overtime. And to cap off the weekend, the Seattle Seahawks needed a late Russell Wilson to DK Metcalf completion to close out an 8-point victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. An exciting weekend for sure, but there's been better. Number 9, 2011 Conference Championship Weekend. To think we were a couple of bounces away from getting a Jim Harbaugh versus John Harbaugh matchup in Super Bowl 46. The Baltimore Ravens were on the cusp of shocking the New England Patriots at Gillette Stadium in the 2011 AFC Championship game. Lee Evans dropped a game-winning touchdown pass from Joe Flacco, however. And 2 plays later, reliable veteran Billy Cundiff missed a game-tying 32-yarder attempt that would have forced overtime. With that, the Patriots were on to Super Bowl 46. And yet perhaps it was the San Francisco 49ers faithful that felt even more sick following their heartbreaking loss. After being deadlocked with the Giants at 17 apiece through 60 minutes, Kyle Williams fumbled on a punt return in overtime to set up a short field for the G-men. From there, Lawrence Tynes booted the 31-yarder to send New York back to the Super Bowl. These 2 epic conference title games would set up a Super Bowl 42 rematch between the Giants and the Patriots. And we all know how that ended. Number 8, 1989 Divisional Round. The San Francisco 49ers blew out the Minnesota Vikings 41-13. Boring? Sure. But the other 3 games that weekend more than made up for it. The Buffalo Bills and Cleveland Browns engaged in a thrilling shootout that saw Jim Kelly and Bernie Kosar combine for 656 passing yards and 7 TDs. The visiting Bills trailed by 4 with 14 seconds left, but had the ball in the red zone. Ronnie Harmon dropped the potential game-winning touchdown. And on the very next play, Kelly threw an interception to Clay Matthews.
It is intercepted at the 1. Clay Matthews.
Things got even crazier on Sunday. The Rams met Bill Parcells' Giants at the Meadowlands. The first 4 quarters were dominated by defense, as the teams were tied 13-all after 60 minutes. But the ending was magnificent. Jim Everett threw a 30-yard dime to Willie Flipper Anderson, silencing the New York crowd with the walk-off touchdown. The weekend concluded with John Elway's Broncos hosting the Steelers. Denver went ahead 24-23 thanks to Mel Bratton's rushing score before the 2-minute warning. On the ensuing drive, Pittsburgh faced a 3rd and 10 situation, but Bubby Brister was unable to corral a bad snap. The Broncos pounced on the loose football and recovered to seal the thrilling victory and move on. Number 7, 2012 Divisional Round. The first day of the 2012 Divisional Playoff Round was far more memorable than the second. Still, it was a fantastic weekend overall. It all started with the Baltimore Ravens visiting Peyton Manning and the top-seeded Denver Broncos. This game, of course, is best remembered for Joe Flacco's mile-high miracle to Jacoby Jones that tied the game in the waning seconds.
Now Joe Flacco can run. He's got great speed, but that's not going to get it done. Stepping up and throwing deep down the far sideline. Caught! Into the end zone! Touchdown, Jacoby Jones! How does that happen in the Denver secondary? That is stunning. I mean, that is just, that's unthinkable that a safety could misplay that to that extent in this situation with this amount of time left in a football game. I mean, Raheem Moore, he'll be kicking himself for a long time.
Corey Graham picked off Peyton Manning in overtime, which helped set up rookie Justin Tucker's game-winning field goal. And just like that, Ray Lewis' career lived to fight another day. Later on, Colin Kaepernick turned in a historic performance against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. In his career-defining game, Cap rushed for an insane 181 yards and 2 touchdowns while throwing for 263 yards and a score. San Fran beat Green Bay 45-31 to reach the NFC title game. Not to be outdone by those theatrics, the top-seeded Falcons narrowly escaped an epic collapse against rookie Russell Wilson and his Seahawks. Atlanta saw a 20-point fourth-quarter lead evaporate when Marshawn Lynch's go-ahead touchdown, with 31 seconds remaining, put Seattle up by 1. It took Matt Ryan just 2 plays to set up Matt Bryant's go-ahead 49-yarder, though, and the Atlanta defense held on in the final seconds to send the franchise back to the NFC title game. The weekend ended with the Patriots crushing the Texans 41-28, but the first 3 games certainly made for a thrilling weekend. Number 6, 2006 Divisional Round. 3 games that were decided by 3 points. All 4 games went down to the wire. The 2006 Divisional Round rightfully deserved a spot on the list. It all started with Peyton Manning's Indianapolis Colts visiting Ray Lewis' Ravens. No touchdowns were scored in this one. Baltimore kept Indy out of the end zone all game, but Adam Vinatieri's 5 field goals were enough to send the visitors to the AFC title game. Hours later, the New Orleans Saints narrowly outlasted the Philadelphia Eagles 27-24 in their first playoff game since the disastrous Hurricane Katrina. Next, the top-seeded Bears and defending NFC champion Seahawks met at Soldier Field. Chicago stuffed 2005 league MVP Shaun Alexander on 4th and 1 right after the 2-minute warning to thwart a potential game-winning drive. Chicago couldn't capitalize on the good field position, however, and overtime was needed. The Bears forced to punt in overtime on 3rd and 10. Rex Grossman hit a wide-open Rashid Davis to move Chicago into Seattle territory. Moments later, rookie Robbie Gould booted a 49-yarder to send the Bears to the NFC title game. And to close things out, Tom Brady's Patriots visited the 14-win Chargers led by MVP LaDainian Tomlinson, despite throwing 3 picks on the day. The GOAT hung in there and helped the Pats to 11 unanswered points in the final 4.5 minutes to erase an 8-point deficit and go up by 3. Nate Kading missed a 54-yard field goal that would have forced overtime, ending the greatest season in Chargers history on a sour note. Number 5, 1987 Conference Championship Weekend. Look away, Browns fans. This was the infamous fumble game where Ernest Biner coughed up the football near the goal line in the final minute, costing the Browns a chance at the Super Bowl while John Elway's Broncos punched a ticket to the big dance.
So I get ready to run over Lily. I pull the ball in, get ready to lower my shoulder so I can run over Lily. Fumble. How do you heal from that?
And yet the Browns weren't the only distraught fan base that hasn't really recovered from that 1987 Conference Championship weekend. The Vikings needed to convert a 4th and 4 situation inside the Washington 10-yard line in order to tie the game in the final minute. Wade Wilson found Darren Nelson for what should have been a first down catch, but he couldn't come up with a grab. The ball hit the ground and Washington, like the Broncos, narrowly survived to reach the Super Bowl. Number 4, 2003 Divisional Round. 2 overtime finishes, 4 games that were decided by 1 score. Can't ask for much better. The 2003 Divisional Round weekend started with the Cinderella story Carolina Panthers visiting the high-powered St. Louis Rams offense. Remarkably, both kickers missed a potential game winner in sudden death overtime. The second overtime frame opened with Carolina facing a 3rd and 14 situation. Jake Delhomme took the snap and found Steve Smith Sr. with a crowd-silencing 69-yarder to win the game. Upset completed.
Quarter number 6. 3rd down and 14. DeLome fires to an open Smith. Steve Smith is going to go all the way. No flags down. Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
On a 3rd and 14.
69-yard play.
Unbelievable.
The Carolina Panthers have advanced, ending the St. Louis Rams' 14-game winning streak at home in an incredible game that will go down in memory as one of the highlights of playoff history as John Fox's Panthers defeat the game St. Louis Rams, who had to come from behind late to tie it, and here's how it ended.
Later that evening, Steve McNair's Titans visited the powerhouse Patriots in a freezing Foxborough night. The Mr. Automatic Adam Vinatieri barely made a 46-yarder in the unforgiving New England wind to put the Patriots up by 3 late. Drew Bennett of the Titans dropped a dime from McNair on 4th and 12 with 98 seconds remaining. That ultimately cost Tennessee the game. The following day, the Manning-led Colts met Priest Holmes' high-powered Kansas City Chiefs rushing offense. Manning's 304 passing yards and 3 TDs nullified Holmes' 176 rushing yards and 2 scores. And Indianapolis left KC with a 38-31 victory. The weekend concluded with the Packers visiting the Eagles. This was the 4th and 26 game, in which Donovan McNabb completed an improbable 4th down pass to Freddie Mitchell that led to David Akers' game-tying field goal that forced overtime. Brett Favre threw a costly pick in the extra frame, and the Eagles made the most of it, as Akers booted a short field goal to win the game. Talk about drama, baby. Number 3 2018 Conference Championship weekend. Controversy would be a good word to sum up this weekend, but you can also use the words like epic and unforgettable. We all know what happened in the NFC Championship game between the New Orleans Saints and Los Angeles Rams. The whole NOLA no-call thing that sparked massive outrage across the NFL.
Breeze. Pass is incomplete, no flag. Crowd's going crazy.
Having the Saints lose in overtime obviously didn't help officials escape immense criticism. Still, a conference game that required overtime and ended on a Greg Zuerlein's 57-yard field goal? Controversial, sure, but definitely epic as well. The Patriots and Kansas City Chiefs somehow managed to top that later in the evening. League MVP Patrick Mahomes and the GOAT, Tom Brady, engaged in a thrilling shootout at Arrowhead, one that featured 4 lead changes in the 4th quarter. The game required overtime.
Offside. Defense, number 55, lined up in the neutral zone. It's a 5-yard penalty with replay 3rd down.
Brady drove New England down the field in typical Brady fashion, and Rex Burkhead's rushing touchdown set the Pats right back to the big game, where they went on to beat the Rams to win their 6th Super Bowl. Number 2 1972 Divisional Round. This weekend was home to one of the greatest and most iconic plays in American sports lore. The immaculate reception when Terry Bradshaw's desperate pass bounced into the hands of Franco Harris, who took it to the house to help the Steelers get past the Raiders.
Last chance for the Steelers. Bradshaw trying to get away. And his pass is broken up by Tatum. Tipped off! Franco Harris has it! And he's over!
Watch this again.
The 1 odds on this one. Watch this one now. Bradshaw's lucky to even get rid of the ball. He shoots it out. Jack Tatum deflects it right into the hands of Harris. And he sets off, and the big 230-pound rookie slipped away from Warren and scored. When you talk about Christmas miracles, here's the miracle of all miracles.
Then you had Tom Landry's Cowboys erasing an early 21-3 deficit to stun the 49ers at Candlestick Park. Dallas scored 17 quarter points and held San Fran to 0 in the final frame. Roger Staubach's late TD strike to Ron Sellers was the final dagger to help Dallas escape with a 30-28 victory. Washington beat Green Bay 16-3 in their divisional round battle, which wasn't exactly a thriller by any stretch of the imagination. But the Miami Dolphins-Cleveland Browns showdown sure was. Jim Kick's go-ahead touchdown with under 5 minutes left helped Miami go ahead 20-14. The Browns had a couple of chances to regain the lead, but the Dolphins defense forced a punt and interception to keep their perfect season alive. After beating Pittsburgh in the AFC title game, they beat Washington in the Super Bowl to finish 17-0. Number 1 2021 Divisional Round. Don't call it recency bias. This might literally go down as the craziest action-packed, drama-filled divisional round ever. It all started on a late Saturday afternoon at Nissan Stadium. The underdog Cincinnati Bengals, 1 week removed from their first playoff win in 31 years, eliminated the top-seeded Tennessee Titans on Evan McPherson's 52-yard field goal in the game's final play. Up next, historic rivals Green Bay and San Francisco capped off the night with another playoff showdown at the chilly Lambeau Field. Trailing 10-3 with under 5 minutes to go, the 49ers forced a Green Bay punt, which Jordan Willis blocked and teammate Talanoa Hufanga returned for 6. Veteran kicker Robbie Gould was brought out for a game-winning 45-yard attempt in the snow, and he arrived. It looked like we would get our first blowout of the weekend when the Los Angeles Rams built a 24-point lead on the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 3rd quarter. But Tom Brady once again reminded us why we should never count him out. The Rams committed 3 careless fumbles that allowed the Bucs to tie the game with 42 seconds left. It looked like we were headed to overtime, but on the ensuing drive, Matthew Stafford connected with Cooper Kupp for gains of 20 and 44 yards, setting up Matt Gay's game-winning field goal. Wild stuff. And yet the best game from the weekend was still to come. The Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills engaged in an epic back-and-forth duel for the ages. There were 3 lead changes inside the final 2 minutes. Trailing by 3 with just 13 seconds left, Patrick Mahomes needed only 2 plays to get KC into the field goal range and force overtime. Kansas City won the coin toss and took advantage, walking it off with a Mahomes to Kelsey touchdown that put the finishing touches on what many are calling the greatest game of all time, and rightfully so. What do you think was the wildest weekend in NFL playoff history? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, we're on everything. Go subscribe, go follow. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes 1 click down below, and subscribe to TPS. He posts videos every day. Every day's a new video. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. I'll see you next time.
On my knees.